Can you continue to breastfeed during another pregnancy? And what should you expect throughout that whole journey of pregnancy and beyond? If you yourself have breastfed during pregnancy, leave your experiences and share your top tips in the comments below. And for anyone I haven't met yet, hi, I'm Angie. I'm a practicing midwife with 13 years experience, a registered health visitor, and I've also been a breastfeeding peer supporter with additional qualifications. So for the majority of women, yes, continuing to breastfeed during pregnancy is safe to continue doing so. And all of the evidence points out that when breastfeeding is alongside complementary food, so usually over 6 months at this stage, there are no differences in terms of miscarriage or premature birth at that stage. And in terms of all of the evidence we've got from meta-analysis, systematic reviews, it shows that continuing to breastfeed during pregnancy is safe to do so. And there's only been one study that has found that it wasn't. And this was looking at low and middle income countries, looking at women who breastfed alongside their pregnancy. And what it found is that women who were exclusively breastfeeding before food was introduced, so that's the first 6 months, they had a small increased chance of miscarriage chance. Now, however, regardless of how a family are feeding their baby, we know from all of the available literature that from a health perspective, the most optimum time to wait is between 18 and 24 months between having one baby and conceiving the next baby. There are very few studies that look at continuing to breastfeed during pregnancy in high-income countries. This was a study that happened in low and middle income countries where we know that the nutritional needs but also the societal support around pregnancy is not always optimum. There's also a lot of research on inter-pregnancy and inter-birth intervals, so the point where a woman has a baby and then conceives another baby. And so there is some research, regardless of feeding method, highlighting that the shorter the pregnancy interval, the higher the chance of pregnancy complications in a future pregnancy. But there's lots of different factors in relation to that. But all of the rest of the research highlights that if you conceive a baby over 6 months old where you are having breastfeeding alongside complementary foods, there is no increased chance of any pregnancy complications for the majority of women. And absolutely, yes, breast milk composition can change, the taste can change, and the volume can change throughout pregnancy, where the hormones fluctuate. And it is usually around about 4 to 5 months into pregnancy that sometimes the supply can dip slightly as all the hormonal changes during pregnancy occur. What this can do is sometimes mean that your baby or toddler becomes a little bit more fussy, demands more milk. It's having that awareness of it. And sometimes because those taste changes can happen, that can also have an impact. When it comes to the postnatal period and that colostrum comes in, you may decide to tandem feed where you have both your toddler and your baby at the same time, or you may choose to feed them at different times. It's also being aware that when that colostrum comes in, sometimes that can provide a increased gastric emptying effect onto your baby or toddler that you are feeding, so your older baby, for example. Colostrum is a natural laxative that can help all the fecal matter and the meconium pass through. For toddlers and for babies who are continuing to feed, they may find that their poos become a bit looser for those first few days before the transitional milk supply comes in. And in relation to tandem feeding, because you are demanding more milk in that postnatal period, your milk will adapt to both babies' needs overall. It is being aware that you may have a slightly more forceful letdown. There are tips and tricks that you can use in that postnatal period to help reduce the amount of the force behind that letdown for your newborn, including expressing into a towel and muslin, for example, until that initial forceful letdown finishes, and then you can feed your baby afterwards. Alternatively, feeding your toddler for that initial letdown and then swapping for your newborn baby so they don't have that significant letdown. Meeting your nutritional needs is really important though if you are continuing to breastfeed during pregnancy. You will need to ensure that you're meeting your calcium, nutritional intake and your vitamin D intake, and also thinking about other micro and macronutrients such as magnesium, for example. Having a good pregnancy supplement should hopefully be able to meet the needs of this. Thinking about your vitamin D and your calcium intake, it's worth having a look at your supplements to see if you need any additional calcium within your diet. If you've got a good, healthy, balanced diet with all of the nutritional needs you need, you might not need to supplement. It's ensuring that you're also eating a really good, healthy, balanced, nutritious diet. So it is also worth thinking about your iron stores and your iron levels at this stage as well. You should be offered at the start of your pregnancy to have your bloods taken for your iron levels, and this should be offered again to you at a later stage. It might also be worth considering your ferritin stores to see if there's anything in that. If you start feeling really excessively fatigued or tired at any stage, have a conversation with your healthcare professional just to make sure that your levels of everything are okay. And I don't think there's enough research really looking into mothers' experiences of tandem breastfeeding. This is a really good study to go and have a read of, and it just highlights the different aspects about the knowledge of breastfeeding during pregnancy from healthcare professionals, the level of support that's offered to women, but also the different challenges that are posed throughout that pregnancy and the postnatal period. A lot of mothers reported there were a lot of myths about continuing to breastfeed during pregnancy and that they were provided with incorrect information or advice. And there are some amazing fact sheets on tandem nursing on the Lalesh League websites, tandem nursing and also breastfeeding during pregnancy. And the best place to access information and support relating to breastfeeding during pregnancy is the Breastfeeding Network, which I will link here for the phone number, but also your local breastfeeding support groups if you have them around you. Tandem feeding and breastfeeding during pregnancy can provide a lot of closeness with your older child or toddler, and it can also help with that connection. Mum's feeling more relaxed as well because of the continuation of breastfeeding too.